Well, the Alabama football news is coming at us fast and furious. The problem is Jimmy is moving slow and painfully.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson. That's me, Jimmy Stein. That's him. This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. I'll tell you about LinkedIn here in just a bit. Also, thank you for making this your first listen every single day. Jimmy, first of all, health update. You're still alive, just barely?
Barely alive. Pretty painful thing, but I'm able to stand for 30 minutes at a time and do this. Then we'll see what happens afterwards.
Okay, I'll try and make it
not on camera.
I'm going to try to make it 31 minutes just to see what happens. But all right. So Jimmy, it looks like Alabama has their man at defensive coordinator in Kane Wommack, the head coach or
Wommack. Coach. That's important to know. Wommack.
Wommack.
Yeah. It's an important lesson, I think, for that, because anybody. I mean, I know when South first hired him, and I wasn't too aware of him. I mean, I said Wommack for a while until I was told otherwise. But no, his name is pronounced Wommack.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's tough to change too, because but like Chance Warmack, like that, like Kane Wommack.
Okay. All right. I'm down with that. Anywho, he was the head coach at South Alabama. South Alabama, by the way, went in and beat Oklahoma State badly this year. So, I mean, he's a good coach, and he's had a nice little coaching career. He was defensive coordinator at Eastern Illinois, I see here. Obviously, was defensive coordinator and linebackers coach at South Alabama, also linebackers coach and defensive coordinator at Indiana. So he's had some Power 5 experience. He played at Arkansas. Did you know that?
No, I don't think I knew that. And that surprises me a little bit.
Well,
I mean, his dad's a well-known defensive coordinator. I mean, he came up in the family. So his dad, Dave Wommack, is coached at Ole Miss and a bunch of places. I think Arkansas. His dad was also a defensive coordinator for decades. So that's how he was born into it and took to it like a Wommack to water.
Well, he was a fullback at Arkansas from 05 to 06, so he must have been there during the heyday, because they actually went to the SEC West. They won the West in 06, so they went to Atlanta that year. They got their brains beat in, because they always get their brains beat in when they go to the SEC championship game. But nevertheless, he ended up transferring to Southern Miss, and it says here he helped the Golden Eagles to 3 straight bowl wins. So, this guy's had some success. He seems very fiery, and he has had some experience in Mobile. He played in the SEC, and he's coached in Power 5 conferences before. So I'm down with this hire. Again, here's what I want to say about everything concerning this coaching staff that I want everybody to know. I'm 100% behind all these guys. That being said, it is not crazy for somebody to have questions. I guess the way I would describe this is I'm excited about this staff, and I'm also very nervous about this staff. This is sort of like getting married. I mean, you're excited because you think you know what you're getting into, but you don't know till you actually get into the marriage. That first year of marriage is different. The first year in the SEC coaching is going to be different.
I like how at Fresno and at Washington, he won quickly. I mean, he inherited 4-8 and then went 10-2. Now that's the Pac-12. It's not the grind of the SEC and that schedule that Alabama faces in 2024, nor should I think that we should set our demands, to put it, for lack of a better word, at 10-2 in year one, because let's see what the roster looks like. As we know, as we talked about on the show and we'll continue to talk about, the roster has been sort of falling apart, and that should have been to some extent expected. But I like how he's had quick success everywhere he's been, and I don't think that's going to change. I just think we have to kind of set a reasonable standard for what success looks like this fall. But it could be a really good team, depending on who's who's sticking around. We don't know that just yet. I want to see the roster before I set expectations. But I want to talk about Kane Wommack because, I'm from Mobile, so I know Wommack's career really well, know a lot about the guy. I'm really excited. I was surprised he was interested at first, but the more it went along, the more it made sense to me as to why. Rumor is he's bumped up to $2 million a year from $800,000. That should probably headline the reasons why. He's very young. He's a guru, and by that I mean everybody that knows him thinks of him as a defensive guru. I mean, he's an expert of sorts. He's consulted all the time. He gets calls at South from other head coaches about, hey, what do you think about this defensive thing? I mean, he's a guru. Yet most gurus I have found lack personality, and Kane doesn't at all. He doesn't at all. He's extremely personable. He's going to get along with everybody, not just the players, but with media, his fellow coaches. We'll see what the media policy is like under DeBoer. And if Kane is in front of the media all the time, people will really like him. So a guru, intense. I think the real question with him is recruiting, but I also think he's going to be handed Mobile. And one thing about that is we know it's a talent-rich area. Kane has been in Mobile for 3 years. He was very popular. Mobile, they're crushed today. They're crushed. They did not want to lose Kane at all. They wanted him to be the long-term guy there. They loved him. So that means that he can stroll into every high school in Mobile, and they'll be like, they like him, and he will be welcome. And the kids know who he is in Mobile because he was successful at South. In fact, I think he's got 6 or 8 good Mobile area kids committed to him this year, including that quarterback, Hollins, who is such a good player. So I think this is a really great hire, but it's fair to question recruiting, and it's fair to question, well, he's not done it at this level unless you count the Indiana stint. All fair, but I'm excited, and I'm real familiar with the guy.
I guess what I'm saying is if you go on Twitter, people are like, yeah, I'm all in. Alabama's going to be just fine. Everything's going to be hunky-dory. And then you got the other side going, this guy can't recruit. He didn't know anything about the South. He's Husky Harsin and blah, blah, blah. I'm telling you, I've got to wait and see approach. But at the same time, I'm optimistic given the records of all these people that he's hiring so far, including Kane Wommack, who, like you said, I mean, the term guru is passed around maybe a little bit too much, but I know where you're going. And I think he probably is a very smart, young, up-and-coming coach. And Alabama gave him a huge bump. And look, in a way, this is potentially Kalen DeBoer's Pete Golding. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to be Pete Golding. I'm saying that I think Saban took a shot on Pete Golding. It didn't pan out the way everybody wanted it to. But Pete Golding's not unsuccessful. Pete Golding's still making a gazillion dollars. He's working at Ole Miss. He still works in the SEC. He's fine. He just wasn't fine by Alabama fan standards, which brought me to my next point, and I don't really want to go into it. We'll have to talk about this later. By the way, there's so many other shows because Saban retired. We have so many filler shows coming up. All-time Saban team, all-time Saban wins, all-time Saban losses, what if on Saban, blah, 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 all these things we can talk about later. But today on Dusty and Danny in the morning or whatever it is, they said that they saw somewhere that the over-under on Alabama wins for next year is 9.5. And both of them said, if I got to choose, I'm going to go under, but I don't really know where to go with this, based on Alabama's schedule. I wish the SEC had given Alabama its schedule after Saban had retired, because I feel like they did set some things up specifically for Saban to be involved. But it is what it is. So, Jimmy, right now, though, we're going to tell everybody about LinkedIn. At the start of the new year, every small business owner is asking themselves the same question. What's the one move I can make that'll take my business to the next level in 2024? LinkedIn Jobs knows that your success all depends on the team you surround yourself with. Lord knows that is so true. Look what I've surrounded myself with. That's why LinkedIn Jobs has created the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. Jimmy's not getting my jokes today. I think, kidney stones, they make you more ornery. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. No joke. Hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. That's 1 day for those who don't know. It's why small businesses rank LinkedIn jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus their leading competitors. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions, they're going to apply. Okay, so let's get into some recruiting and other transfer talk. I feel bad for Alabama beat writers right now. They cannot sleep. There's no way. I mean, we do a podcast once a day, maybe twice a day occasionally, but like they cannot sleep. And just as soon as you and I are talking like, well, Jaron Arnold announced that he's going to go pro. Of course, Kool-Aid's going pro. This guy's in the transfer portal. That guy's in the transfer portal. Des Rick's in the transfer portal, maybe going to A&M. But Trey Amos, he ended up playing pretty well. He's in the transfer portal. So it's hard to keep up with who's all in there. But here's my other thing that I'm highly encouraging people to do that has really helped my sanity. Take a break from if Twitter gets too much for you right now, take a break. Don't look at any other sites besides Alabama sites right now. And if you see a negative post on an Alabama site, just don't read it. Normally, I read everything from everywhere. Right now, I can't do it. I've got to let some of these things settle down. But I think when all is said and done, Alabama's going to be fine in the defensive backfield. And here's to some fingers being crossed that Caleb Downs stays at Alabama, but who knows?
Yeah, the DB group in particular has been, really whittled down. Goes to show the influence of two things makes all the sense of the world. The defensive back coach left, who was immensely popular with the players on the team. That's T-Rob. And the fact of the matter is most of the DBs that have signed with Alabama over the years, in part, they pick Alabama because they want to be coached by Nick Saban, who has a national reputation as a guru for DBs. Nick Saban's put 1 million defensive backs in the NFL, and they show up not only well coached, but ready to be good players. So the fact that Saban and T-Rob are gone, it makes sense that the DB group in particular has kind of walked out. But that said, there is plenty of time. I would encourage fans right now to focus on the staff hires because that's what DeBoer is focusing on, is hiring a staff. You got to get that right. You have to get it right. And I know for some will argue, and I've seen some arguments, and they're good arguments about should have kept T-Rob at any cost. We wouldn't have these guys walking out. Probably true. But is the smart thing to do keep the 2024 roster together, or is the smart thing to do hire a defensive coordinator that you believe is the answer for the next 5 years? It's a long-term move here.
And Jimmy, there's no guarantee that T-Rob would have been hired had Saban not retired.
Correct.
As the defense coordinator.
Correct. That is even information that has crossed my desk, as they say. I don't think that was a certainty like some thought. It was certainly a bump up. I think T-Rob was as Saban stayed, was going to get some bump up and a co-DC title. Probably, that's me guessing. But no, there was no deal in place for T-Rob to be the defensive coordinator at Alabama. That wasn't in place. It might have happened, but it was not a certainty, no matter what you might hear. But look, there's going to be some short-term bleeding here, and but the urgency is this. It's just like, what do they call it when you go to the hospital? And I should know because I was there Sunday. Triage. People come in the emergency room and they do triage, which means, okay, the people that are going to die without immediate intervention, they go to the top of the list. People that are, aren't, go towards the bottom of the list. Right now, you treat what is urgent. This is what's urgent. Hiring the right staff. Hey, look across the state over there at Auburn. Hugh Freeze has fired basically his whole staff. Next year, guess what it is for Auburn again? Year one again. To me, it's like if you hire a staff in year one and it doesn't work out and you replace all the guys, year two is now year one again. It's important not to do that, to be honest. And DeBoer, I think, is making hires that are going to stick. And it's not going to be the Saban staff situation where all these teams are showing up every year to pluck half our staff away. We could actually have some degree of stability here. Look at what Dabo and Clemson did for a long time when they were able to keep their staff together for multiple seasons. That's a great goal, and I think it's very realistic under DeBoer. The urgency has to be getting the staff right so you're not doing this again 1 year from now. Oh, man, I think you've muted 3 or 4 shows in a row.
I have, and then I couldn't unmute because I clicked it too fast.
Is the Boer era going to be the return of Luke's mute?
It is. I feel like that's the only way to usher him in correctly.
That's true. Tradition.
But
he's into tradition. He said so.
So Ryan Williams came to Alabama for a quick unofficial visit, and then he's supposed to be back here this weekend, right? I mean, that's the one thing. Ryan Williams decommitting is not ideal, right? Several other players decommitting, which I will talk about probably in the next segment because we're going to talk about Ryan Williams the rest of this segment, is not ideal. But, Ryan Williams visiting and then also probably getting to know this coach that has done a lot of great things with wide receivers and quarterbacks, that is ideal. So he's coming in this weekend, and you got to feel like he's given us a puncher's chance again.
Yeah, I think Ryan Williams showing up for this unofficial visit in addition to his official visit is nothing but great news. Now, it doesn't mean, things are right back to where they were, but a lot of people immediately wrote Ryan Williams off. When Nick Saban retired, when T-Rob left, many smart, connected Alabama fans even were like, okay, well, the Ryan Williams dream is gone. Not so fast, as Corso says. Ryan, coming on an unofficial visit, by the way, in terrible weather. In terms of it's 25 degrees for my laptop right now. It's 25 in Tuscaloosa with ice and snow on the ground or sleet or whatever. It did snow a little bit this morning on campus, by the way. I think so many wrote Ryan off. The fact that he would be here in terrible weather on his own dime prior to his official visit means that the door is open. Would I say Alabama right now is the favorite? No. But I'm not sure there is a favorite. I think it's just wide open, and he could choose anything at this point, including Alabama. The official visit will be big, and I think having the wide receiver coach in town and spending the weekend with him is also big. I know a little bit about Jamarcus Shepard, who we project will be the wide receiver coach. Great personality, great guy, tremendous success. Rome Odunze, his wide receiver at Washington, led the nation in reception yards. That's got to impress Ryan. Rome is going to be a top 10 pick under Jamarcus Shepard's tutelage, and they've got other dudes too. So great personality, great guy. I hope that he's the choice based on what I know, and I believe he is, but he's also not here in Tuscaloosa yet. So hopefully that changes before the weekend. He's the guy, and Ryan can spend some time with him.
That would be wonderful, and I think that would be, a match made in heaven. I really do. But right now, I want to tell everybody about FanDuel. The NFL regular season is over. It's over, especially for the Cowboys and especially for the Eagles, who looked awful last night. But there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, which is America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets. That's guaranteed, people, not messing around money. When you place a $5 bet, all you do is place a $5 bet, you get $150 in bonus bets. $150 in bonus bets, whether you win or lose, by the way. The app is so easy to use, and there's so many different ways to bet. You can have those live same-game parlays. You can find bets in the new Explore tab, make a parlay in the Parlay Hub. The best way to find popular parlays, by the way, is in that Parlay Hub, and much, much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a chip shot, layup, field goal, putt, something. FanDuel is an official partner of the NFL. I want to tell everybody about Jase Medical too. Boy, I love Jase Medical, and we are so appreciative for their being a sponsor. Scary times You got to be prepared, and Jase Medical is a super way to be prepared. You want to go check out jasemedical.com, see what I'm talking about here. I know we come to sports to escape and just get away from life, but man, we got to talk about real life for a minute. According to the FDA, pharmacies are running out of antibiotics like amoxicillin right in the middle of the worst flu season ever. In over a decade at least. This is scary. I can't imagine a more helpless feeling than if one of my children got sick and there was a supply chain issue that kept them from life-saving medication. Thankfully, we'll be okay because I have a Jase case from Jase Medical. The Jase case is a pack of 5 different antibiotics to treat a long list of bacterial illnesses, including UTIs, respiratory illnesses, or infections, sinusitis, skin infections, among others. This stuff could happen to any of us, no doubt. Visit jasemedical.com and complete your physician encounter. It will be reviewed by a board-certified physician, and your medications will be dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the regular cost. It's never been more important to be prepared than today. Go to jasemedical.com, use offer code LOCKEDON to get $20 off that order. That's jasemedical.com. Use code LOCKEDON to get $20 off that order. You will thank me later. All right, so let's talk about a few other things. By the way, Florida State has just become Tuscaloosa East. 5 players from Alabama have now transferred to Florida State, not the least of which is Roydell Williams. And look, Sean Murphy has transferred there. Terrence Ferguson has transferred there. I can't remember the other 2 at this point. Earl Little, and what's the other one?
Little, Williams, Ferguson.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
I think there
but
is.
They
5.
also took one of our commitments for the 2025 class, which, again, I'm not, and he's one of the, a 4-star defensive end, and that's great. And kudos, bully for Florida State. I'm not discounting what they've done at all. What I'm saying is, honest to God, I feel like we have bigger fish to fry right now. I'm not super worried about a 25 edge right this minute. I want Zion Grady to stay committed to Alabama, and maybe he will. He took a visit to Auburn. He's still committed to Alabama, so maybe he'll stay. Meanwhile, Mason Short, a 25 offensive lineman, interior offensive lineman, has decommitted from Alabama. But you know what? That was probably going to happen had Saban not even retired. Everybody was predicting that he was going to end up in the Georgia class anyway. So anybody panicking over this, just understand things move quickly. And here's another thing that I want to throw in there, and then, Jimmy, I'll let you talk as long as you want to. Some people picked up on something that when we were talking about the NIL and we've been talking about it, other people have been talking about it, it almost sounded as if maybe Saban didn't – the one thing maybe where he lacked was trying to get people to buy into the NIL system. Now, I mean, he did fantastic at everything. But that's the one place where maybe Alabama was a little less than. And I feel like now there's been a huge push. I had Aaron Suttles on the program, who's the content creator for Yay Alabama. And he alluded to that Yay Alabama has really seen an uptick here recently. And I think people are understanding, we don't get the Saban discount anymore. And, this is more important than we thought. And so I think people are really starting to contribute to this more. So, while we have some people on text chains and while we have people on message boards and everything and Twitter freaking out, look, if our NIL gets where we think it should be, I think we're going to be just fine whatever we do. So let's just chill out. Our recruiting class may be number 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 versus number 1 or number 2, but it's going to be pretty good regardless.
It is going to be good because of Alabama and Kalen DeBoer. I think those 2 things together guarantee that Alabama will sign a good class. Now, is Alabama going to sign a quote-unquote Saban class? That's an unreasonable and unfair expectation right out of the gate, and people shouldn't demand that or else. But I think it's going to be a really good group. I mean, you can write it down right now. I'll say right now, I would bet top 10. Top 10, I would bet right now. But, the Saban level success, again, that might have to come after some on the field success. But one thing about Saban and NIL money can kind of come from 2 different areas, right? The wealthy and corporations, and secondly, the rank and file. That means me and Luke. and everyone listening to the show. That's the rank and file. And Saban was very, very good at sitting down with the wealthy and the corporations and saying, we need your help. And they did. And they wrote big checks. And yay, Alabama and High Tide before it did well. Look at the recruiting. It frustrates the heck out of me for people to blast NIL efforts in the past. Look at the recruiting rankings. There has absolutely been zero failure on Alabama's NIL end or the recruiting rankings. Alabama basketball is recruiting better than it ever has in history post NIL. So that drives me nuts. That's just so inaccurate. Now, Saban has left. This brings about renewed urgency, and the urgency really needs to be with the rank and file, because the rank and file, meaning if you're a fan of Alabama football and you have maybe up to $18 a month to help Alabama out and help Alabama recruit and retain players, and you have that kind of extra income. Not everybody does, and that's fair. If you don't, you don't. That's fine too. Take care of yourself and your family best you can. But if you do have it, Alabama needs it now. With Saban, it wasn't as critical of a need from the rank and file. It was a critical need from the wealthy boosters, and they kept everything afloat. But now it's all hands on deck, and it all counts. Because with Saban, we got some sort of kids would play for Alabama and Nick Saban for a little less. Maybe they won't now, because it's not the GOAT. DeBoer's not the GOAT, not yet. So let's help Alabama out. Everybody needs to help now. And I think that's the change, is the recognition that for this to be successful now, everybody's got to help. It was fine before, but the urgency has changed.
And again, I urge everybody to go check out the podcast I did with Aaron Suttles just yesterday. And, even if it's only $18 or $36 a month or something like that, and there's some people that are going, well, what does that matter? $18 a month. But see, that's the same. Those are the same people who are like, well, my vote doesn't count. I mean, look, you are a part of it. And that $18 a month does help. And we need more people to chip in the $18 a month or $36 a month or whatever you can do, $100 a month. If you can do that, that's wonderful. And this is also your way of being a part of the team. And I think, one thing I heard this morning, and Jimmy, I don't know how the economics of this works, but it was talking about Alabama, Ohio State brings in the most revenue. And then I forget who was number two, maybe Michigan. I can't remember who was number two, but we were number three. And it 229 million or something. I mean, some ridiculous amount of money. And I was like, it sounds like our people buy a lot of the products. We buy a lot of jerseys and footballs and blah, blah, blah. But these other schools had better NILs because I think they're buying the products and they're contributing to the NIL. And sometimes it can be hard to contribute to the NIL because you don't have anything tangible to hold on to and say, this is what I get for this. And also it's no guarantee. I mean, if you contribute your $18 a month, there's no guarantee we're going to get Ryan Williams. But I'm telling you, if you want Alabama to be successful, you need to be a part of this. You need to help. And I mean, I hate to sound all Sally Struthers on here, but that's the way it is. We need you. I mean, if there was a Arms of the Angel or whatever it is that song is, Sarah McLachlan, if I could play that song without getting muted on YouTube, I'd do it, because I
need to run that Alabama song on constant loop in my bathroom right now.
In the urethra of an angel. I think I'm right there on the biology. I don't know. Maybe not. It doesn't matter. Jimmy, we are pushing your 30-minute threshold, and you don't need to be pushing any thresholds right now, buddy. We are all, I'll tell you, it did warm the cockles of my heart that so many people in the last podcast had comments about, man, it's so great to see Jimmy back, prayers up for Jimmy. Because I'm going to tell y'all something. This thing Jimmy's got hurts. I've never had it. I don't want it.
It lives up to, and that's the crazy. This is my first one and hopefully last, but the funny thing is you're burdened with it and you got it. And everybody is so eager to tell you it's worse than childbirth. People love to tell you this. And you're like, could you just not tell me that until this is over? Why does everybody have to tell me that now? That seems like something that should be shared after and not in anticipation of. But no, the birthing itself, I mean, you know, it's been, no, it is a, when it first hit me, I mean, you know, it's up and down, but hey, I'm doing fine. I'm fine. I'll get through it. And hopefully I'll still be able to do the show every day. Luke's been very patient, of course, with that. There's certain times of the day it's just not possible, but we'll try to get the show to you every day.
All right, Jimmy, here's hoping you pass that mother. And until then, roll Tide and roll kidney stones.
Roll Tide.